What is the biggest challenge for IBM as they shift to hybrid cloud and artificial intelligence?
Cloud computing has become a very competitive business. In some ways, it's become almost a commodity business in itself. So IBM has been selling off what it thought were commodity hardware businesses like personal computers, semiconductor manufacturing, um, a lot of other hardware storage systems, for example, and also some low-end services like managed services. But it turns out that cloud computing has also become a kind of commodity service, and only the biggest players can really make money in that area. They make money through economies of scale and also some what I would call platform as a service competition where applications are built in particular environments. So Amazon Web Services is by far the leader in that area. Microsoft Azure is the second leading player. Google is a strong player. So IBM is there, but it's really a niche player. IBM made a big bet on Watson, but unfortunately, it was not really the most advanced architecture for building artificial intelligence systems or machine learning systems. So in other words, IBM coupled a lot of its hybrid cloud offerings with its artificial intelligence consulting services around Watson, but Watson has struggled as a technology. It's not most advanced, and it has not become widely accepted outside of IBM as a new development platform for artificial intelligence or machine learning applications. So again, IBM is struggling in its cloud and AI strategy.
Do you think Chinese companies will dramatically change the global ecosystem of hybrid cloud?
Hybrid cloud as a concept has been evolving in many ways for the past 15, even 20 years. So I don't think about these dramatic changes. Now, the Chinese market is different from the rest of the world. So right now it's difficult for customers outside of China to use cloud services from companies like Alibaba, Huawei, or ZTE. Alibaba has, I guess, a very strong position in China's market, but I don't expect the Chinese companies to compete much in the United States or elsewhere outside, maybe certain markets like Africa. The idea of a hybrid cloud is that clients, which are companies and governments for the most part, they use a combination of their own hosted applications and data on private servers, or they could be managed specifically by a company privately for them. And then they're also mixing that with some open cloud access and utilization. So it's a combination of the two. IBM is pushing hybrid cloud. They made a big investment in Red Hat Linux operating system and services company several years ago. So they've been pushing kind of a public cloud strategy using Linux as the operating system and development environment. And then sometimes they will build custom applications and services for a client, and they will combine the two. So, for example, you could do that in healthcare services where patient records and some very sensitive data is kept on a private cloud, maybe managed by IBM, maybe managed by the customer. But that many other services are just using an open cloud for access to the internet or networking with other hospitals or government services. So anyway, the hybrid cloud is very convenient. It's very popular. I don't see any dramatic changes in that market. I don't certainly, if what you mean by dramatic is that Chinese companies will suddenly become major players in the hybrid cloud market around the world. I don't see that for political reasons, not technology or cost reasons. There's a lot of rules for doing computing or cloud business in China. For example, government requires that servers and data remain in China. I think it's not easy for non-Chinese companies to compete in the Chinese cloud market. And on the flip side, it's the United States government also has its own rules now that they've put in place, and they've made it more difficult for I think Chinese companies to compete in the United States. Maybe easier than American companies in China, but I don't see any major changes. I don't see Alibaba, for example, being able to expand its cloud services in the United States. They have some operations here, very few clients, is my understanding. They can always get clients as Chinese companies who are operating overseas, for example, but really making a dent in the US market is not very likely. The major players globally are American companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Then we have a bunch of other players. So I don't think there's much room for Chinese to compete in this market at this time. So that's why I say there are other markets where they might be able to compete more successfully that are still early stage and growing, like in Africa, Nigeria, for example, South Africa.